Alright, YouTube, David Harry here, and in this video I'm going to show you my iPad mini Gen 6 desktop setup. So basically all this stuff on the table are various combinations of what I can use in my desktop setup. Now there's going to be three parts to this video. The first part is going to be me doing a rostrum style shot to the camera looking down on the table, and I will go through all the components that I have and just do a very brief explanation about anything that's like technically specific about them. Then what I will do is set it up onto my monitor and we'll see it like working with the monitor and stuff. And then after that, the third part, what I will then do is plug the whole thing into my capture PC. So we will do a screen capture so we can clearly see the interface on the iPad and how everything is interacting with it. Now I can't go like mad deep diving with like all this stuff because the video would be dead long. However, I will give enough technical specification and stuff like that as I go through. But there will be a lot more other videos, and some of them will involve some of the components that I'm using here, but on their own as well. So very specific technical videos about very specific components. Now also as well, during this video, if at any point you decide that you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing to my channel. And if you're into this iPad stuff and Mac stuff in general, you might want to click the bell as well for notifications of future videos and all that stuff. Also as well, there will be links to all this stuff within the descriptions below. So let me get on with it. Okay, so the first thing to show you is the iPad mini Gen 6 itself. And it's also worth noting here, I have an ESR screen protector on it and also an ESR trifold magnetic case, which will just allow me to stand it up on a table like that. Also as well, this particular iPad is only a 64GB model, and the reason for that is because I do like a lot of stuff with external files, and I have up to a 4TB SSD that I connect to it. So for me personally, 64GB is well enough internally on the iPad, and anything like video editing and such, I would definitely always use an external SSD for that anyway. So to the first component for the desktop setup, and it is a USB-C hub by a company called Dockteck. Now as it happens, this is the best USB-C hub that I've come across to date, and I'll explain now why that is as I run through what the ports are on the hub. So on this end here, we have got a gigabit Ethernet connection, because very importantly, this particular setup uses a hardwire straight to my router, so I've got the best possible internet connection. Also on the side here, what we have got is a USB-C socket, and that's for putting power in. So this can charge and send power at the same time to the iPad. Now next to that socket, we have got two USB-A ports, which are USB 3 speeds. Now the thing with these are definitely at least 5 gigabits per second, and I will show you that because I'm going to play you some 4K 60 ProRes footage, which is connected via an SSD that connects to these ports. Now next to the USB-C ports are two SD card slots. One of them is for full size and one is for micro. Now next to it here, and this is very important, this is the HDMI output on this, and this will do 4K 60, but very importantly at full height as well. Now this is going to become very apparent when I start showing you the setup in operation. Now as far as the keyboard and mouse are concerned, I use this Bluetooth set by Arteck. Now most importantly here for me is the fact that the keyboard is like really nice and small. So basically it doesn't clutter up my desktop, but on top of that as well, both the keyboard and the mouse have built-in batteries, so basically they just recharge anytime they run down and you don't have to keep buying batteries for them, which is also super cool. And what we're looking at here is one of the other key components as far as I'm concerned, especially if audio means anything to you, and this is the Behringer UMC2020HD 2-in 2-out USB audio interface. Now this is hands down the most impressive audio interface for anywhere near its price. my background is actually music production. I started doing music production over 30 years ago. I actually know a little bit about audio, and I have to tell you right now, this thing is amazing, and it can give us 2 phantom powered mic inputs as well there. It's got nice preamps on it, and it's got a nice headphone output on it. Now this thing can be used to great effect with this iPad mini Gen 6 desktop setup, because it'll allow you to do all kinds of stuff, because you can put really good phantom powered mics into it, and it's got a really nice headphone preamp on it. A little bit more about this as I start putting the system together. Now onto the storage options that I use for this particular setup, and quite possibly the one that I use the most is this Samsung T7 SSD. Now this is USB-C, but it also comes with USB-C to USB-A cabling and stuff like that, so this can just plug directly into one of the standard USB-A ports on the USB-C hub. And like I said before, the hub is really fast. I will show this in action, because I can actually play 4K 60 ProRes 4444 files straight off this onto the iPad mini. It is absolutely insane. Now the other thing as well, which is like pretty unique I think for this hub, what it is, I've got 2 SD cards here. One of them's a micro, which is this SanDisk Extreme, and then the other one's full size, which is another SanDisk Extreme. Now this one says here 150 megabytes per second. I've been clocking this at about 160, and that's when I use this USB-C hub on my PC. So I don't know, there's a lot of things about this USB-C hub which are actually quite insane, to be honest. Now as far as me large storage is concerned, I basically just put something together here, and I will show you how super simple this is. Now what it is, this is a case which is designed to hold a 2.5-inch SATA drive. Then it has a USB-C port on it here, so you can plug this into USB-C or USB-A, it doesn't matter, it's just down to the cable. This has got USB-C on at the moment, but I'll show you this later. And I just put the USB-A version on, and it just plugs again straight into that hub. But this is super simple. What it is, you just pop the bottom off like this, and then you just put in a 2.5-inch SATA drive of your choice. So my little iPad mini, which has only got 64 gig of internal storage, can go up to 4 terabytes externally with this. And like I say, super simple. You just pop the drive in, and then you just push it into the socket there, and then just put the case back on like that, and then there you go. And then finally, I use these SanDisk Extreme Pro USB 3.1 flash drives, and these are amazing, because what it is, these basically have got an SSD controller built into them, and the NAND flash is super fast on these. So this is essentially an SSD. Now as far as cabling is concerned, let me just flash through these. So this is just a standard Cat5 Ethernet cable, and this is to connect the USB-C hub to my router. And then what we have here is a USB-A to B cable, which is basically a printer cable, and that is to connect my Behringer USB audio interface to the USB-C hub. Now as far as my HDMI cabling is concerned, I use these awesome ones here by Cable Matters. Now these come in 1 meter and 2 meter lengths, and the best bit about these is that you get 3 in a pack, and they are color coded as well. Actually, that's not the best bit. The best bit is that these are 8K cables, so well good enough for doing 4K 60 from the USB-C hub. Now, although I use a lot of other cables for this type of setup, including very specific audio cables, this will be the last cable that I will show here. And what it is, it's a cable by a company called Cable Creation, and this is a USB-C extender cable, so basically male to female. And what this allows me to do is to extend the reach of the actual USB-C hub system. So once I've got everything plugged into it, I can then hide it with this extension cable. I will show you this once I set it all up. And just 2 hardware components here, which will be very self-explanatory. I've got a pair of headphones, which although they are Bluetooth you can use them wired as well, and they're by Sennheiser. And then I have got a PS4 controller, which is obviously for playing games with. Okay, so as best as I can, I will now show you how to set this all up. Now you have to appreciate here that the camera might kind of defocus and stuff because there will be a bunch of things going on in the frame, but it should be good enough to give you a really good idea as to what's going on here. So first thing is to plug the Dockteck USB-C hub into the USB-C port on the iPad mini, and of course this Dockteck has got a USB-C fly cable on with USB-C socket on the end. So just plug that into the iPad there. Now what we might get is a confirmation here, a little blue confirmation, as we can see. That's just telling us that there has been a cable or a device attached. In this instance, it's a device that does a ton of cool stuff. Okay, let me try and contain my excitement as I do this. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing now is just load up the Dockteck with some stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is just put in the SD cards. Like I say, it will see both of them at the same time. Okay, so that's the SD cards taken care of. Now, although I'm not going to use this keyboard and mouse here, if you have got a similar type of keyboard mouse set, the type that uses one of these USB little wireless receivers, you just plug that into one of the ports on the Dockteck there, and that will allow you to connect one of these types of keyboard mouse sets. As I've said before, I'm going to go Bluetooth with that other set anyway. Now there's my Samsung 1TB T7. Now like I said before, it is USB-C, but it does come with a second cable, which is USB-C to USB-A here. So you simply use the USB-C to USB-A cable that comes with the T7, and then again you just pop that into one of the spare USB ports on the hub. Now right now I can tell you, and I will show you, you can use the T7 and also both of these little like SD cards at the same time. Now quite often these hubs can't share across all the ports, but this one will at least do these. If I get time during the video, I might even try putting in another storage device in there, and let's see if it can see all 4 storage devices. And as far as my 4TB SSD is concerned, just use the same cable, and this time just plug the USB-C end of that cable into the USB-C port on the U-green case, which has got the 4TB drive in it. And then of course, if we want to use flash drives, just pop them into one of the spare USB-A ports that are available. However, I'm not sure if I will test every drive that I've got here within this video. The video will just get super long. And connecting the Behringer audio interface is super simple. What we do here, we just take the printer end of what is basically a printer cable, and then we pop that into the Behringer there. And then what we do, the USB-A end here, we just plug this into the hub. Now if we have a look on the front of the Behringer there are no lights or anything on it, but what's going to happen now, this will take power over the cable. Now what's important here is that this Behringer unit is what we call class compliant, which means it needs no drivers. Again, you know, these are things which I've kind of put together because they specifically will work with this setup. So what happens here is if I pop that in there, in a couple of seconds we should start seeing some lights on the Behringer. So there we go, as we can see, power. And very importantly, as we can see, there is the 48 volts power indicator, so we can use this to phantom power condensers. And then we take the Cat5 Ethernet cable there and then just pop it into the Ethernet socket, or the gigabit Ethernet socket there. So we are now ready for that to be plugged into a modem or into a router or anything to do with hardwired networking. And then we pop the HDMI cable into the HDMI port on the USB-C hub like that. And the last cable that I'm going to plug in right now is the USB-C power cable. So just pop that into the USB-C port there. And then if we go and look back at the iPad now, we should see the charging indicator is now on as well. So we are powering everything through external power, and the iPad is also charging. Okay, so what we're looking at now on the table quite possibly just looks like a whole heap of mess. Now let me show you this now with it all plugged into my 4K computer monitor. It still will probably look like a bit of a rat's nest on the table, but then I will show you what we do with that USB-C extender cable, and it cleans the entire thing up completely. Okay, so as we can see there is everything all set up. Now, like I've already said, this might look a little messy. However, shortly I will tidy this all up and it becomes super neat with this extension cable. I'll show that in a second. But for now, I just want to show you a bunch of things as it stands like this, because what I'm going to do as well, I won't hang around here for too long because I want to go to the screen capture, because when I go to the screen capture, it is going to be much easier for you to see what's going on. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to do here is just to move the mouse and the keyboard out of the frame. They're only in the frame right now so you can see what's going on, but I can't be reaching into the frame all the time. So anyway, just quickly, there's the mouse. The keyboard is actually on and working as well. So let me just move that stuff. I need to try and keep out of the frame as much as possible here. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is just show you the actual storage all connected. So hopefully we can see here, we've got untitled, 1TB T7 SSD and untitled. Now these two untitles here, these are both of the SD cards that have got plugged in as well. In fact, what I'll do whilst I'm here, I will do that thing as well where I will show you how to switch the audio, because don't forget we've got the USB audio interface plugged in right now as well. So what I'm going to do, let me just pick a clip here to play. Now this is going to play and it's going to be coming out of the speaker on the monitor. It won't sound very good, but at least you'll hear it. Okay, so whilst that won't have sounded great, you will definitely have heard it. Now, the way that you get the USB audio interface to work is to simply disconnect it and then reconnect it. And what happens, it would appear that iOS will just pick up whatever is the last connected audio source or audio device. So let me just do that now. So that's me just taking, oh, that's the SSD I've just took out. Sorry, take two. I just disconnected the T7 drive instead. Right, so what I'm going to do is disconnect the USB audio interface. Look at the lights on the interface and there we go. Lights are out, it's disconnected. I'm now going to reconnect the interface. Lights come back on. So just plugging that in last of all now has forced iOS to direct the audio out of it. So what I'm going to do here is go back to the T7 drive that I took out and plugged back in. And then I'll play this file again and we'll notice that there's going to be no audio. So there we go, no audio. However, if I pull the headphones, which are connected over onto the Behringer there, if I do that, let me just pull this here, put them up to the microphone. Okay, so that there just shows you how to switch the audio over and stuff like that. So let me just exit that as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just quickly show you this whole thing to do with using the extension cable as well. Okay, so here's that USB-C extender cable. So what I'm going to do now is just put this in line in between the USB-C hub and the iPad. So I'm going to disconnect the USB-C hub, connect it into one end of the extension cable, and then plug the extension cable into the iPad. Hold on, there we go. Now this should all just power back on again. Just give us a second. So that's going to take just a short time for it to kind of re-get itself back together again. And then what we should see in a second is it pop back up on the screen. There we go. So as we can see, everything now is exactly the same as it was. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly rearrange everything on the tabletop now so you can see how neat it now goes with the extension cable on. And that is exactly what it looks like now once I've used this USB-C extender cable to take the hub away from the tabletop and stuff. I've literally just put that behind the table, so the main bulk of that mess is now hidden. And as I'm sure you'll agree, that looks now a lot neater. Also, if you didn't use, say, the USB audio interface or say the game controller, it would look well neater again. So these things can be really neat if you want them to. However, I usually have a little bit of a mess on my table, so as it stands right now, that is super neat for me. Okay, so this is now the screen capture, and this will allow me to show some stuff in a bit more detail. Also, I think it's going to help show just how impressive this tiny little iPad mini is. Now, a couple of quick things here. We are in full height, as we can see, so there's no letterboxing. You could see that when I had the camera pointed at my monitor, no letterboxing. It's really important to point that out because a lot of these types of like hubs and also HDMI cables will letterbox, which basically means that you're going to like have a much smaller picture there again inside your 16:9 monitor that you've got it plugged into. Also as well, we've got pillar boxing here. That's normal, and we could see the pillar boxing also when we were looking at it on the monitor. The reason why that is because no iOS or iPadOS device actually sends out a full 16:9 image as far as the UI is concerned. Some elements of these do go out in 16:9, if like some things might be playing video which might scale straight out to 16:9. However, the UI and all the rest of it never scales. So things like games and apps and stuff like that, they will just generally just stick with inside the aspect ratio of what it was that it come from when it goes out over HDMI. Also as well, this is 1440p the output here, so 60 frames per second, 1440p. You're seeing this in 4K, however that is upscaled. Now there's a ton of things I could show you here, but I'm already probably 20 minutes into this video, so I'll just try and highlight and gloss some of the bigger elements as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so just quickly, I'm going to go to the settings here, and as we can see, Wi-Fi is switched off, which means we have to be on Ethernet. So that is the name there for the Ethernet port that's inside the USB-C hub. Also as well, as far as Bluetooth is concerned, there's the mouse that I'm on. Also, there's the keyboard, and there's my PS4 controller. So that's going to give you an idea there of what's attached and, you know, whatnot, and how it's attached and all the rest of it. Now we're connecting to the internet. Now what I'm going to do is show you some stuff to do with the file system. Now this is actually mega impressive. Now I can't go showing you every single drive attached there and what, you know, what I'm able to do. However, there is one that I'm going to show you because it is very impressive. Now the thing is, because for this part of the video I don't need to use that Behringer audio interface, I unplugged it and then I plugged in my SanDisk USB stick, that real fast extreme one. Now this is the stick here. Is it untitled, the first one? Let's see. Yeah, that is the stick there, right? But what's weird, it's also showing me the boot sector. What it is, this stick has actually got two partitions on, and this one here is like this is basically a rescue disk that I use for a certain program that I use for creating disk images. Now before iOS 15 and iPadOS 15, oh yeah, earlier on I think I was saying iOS, I obviously meant iPadOS, but basically they are just derivatives of the same OS here. Anyway, nonetheless, what it was before this was updated to 15, I'm fairly sure that I couldn't see this other partition, so that seems to be something new, I think, something slightly better for, like, you know, the file management here. Anyway, let me just carry on down here. So here, Untitled 1, this is, right, anyone who uses Sony cameras will know that's the Sony structure there for the SD card. Then there's the other SD card there. Now, although that's actually got elements of Sony stuff in it, that's also got an added, like, folder with some things in it. Now, I want to show you all these things, but it's just going to drag out. But what I will do, I'll show you this, because this is mental, right? So this is the 1TB T7 Samsung disk, right? Now just check this out. Okay, so let me just go to my 4K 60 clips here. Now just bear in mind, this is 4K 60 frames per second media here. Now if I go to ProRes, right, I'm going to bypass all of these and go straight to ProRes 4444. Now watch this. This is amazing. Okay, right. That to me is just mad impressive. Okay, now I know the output is only 1440, but that was actually playing a 4K 60 frames per second ProRes file, which is 4444, and very importantly, it was playing it from external media. So that's going to give you a really good idea as to the speeds that the USB-C hub is going to be using on its USB ports. So to me, that's mad impressive. So just while we're on the theme of video, let me just pop into LumaFusion here. Now once again, this is LumaFusion looking at my Samsung disk here, okay? So what I'm going to do here is go to this 8K media, right? Let me find something that's going to have some motion in. Right, what it is, these are just clips of some traffic on a road. It's basically something for me to show movement in a frame. So let me just pop this to the timeline. Now in LumaFusion, I've got to be honest, I've got to do something here to make this work. But however, this is 8K media. So in preferences, let's see, I've dropped this down. Is it in preferences? Yes, I've dropped it down to preview fastest. So this is not the highest preview, obviously. However, this is 8K footage. So 8K 24 frames per second footage shot on a Samsung S21. Now watch this. Okay, so that to me is mad impressive. That is 8K 24p. Now, LumaFusion's maximum is 4K. So what it's doing here, it's scaling down the 8K media into a 4K timeline here. But also it's taken the media from the T7, like live from, you know, the external drive, which is obviously a new function within LumaFusion version 3. But the most impressive thing here is that this is being done on the iPad mini 6. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff that I would expect an iPad Pro to do, and it does. However, it's happening on an iPad mini 6. It's mad. Now, if I just go to the best possible quality, let's see what happens. It's probably gonna like mess up fairly quickly, but I'll just do it quickly anyway, let you see. So let me try playing it again. Okay. That seems to be playing it properly. Hold on, let me just go up here. Okay, right, that's just insane. Right, I just assumed it wasn't going to play it, so we'll put it on fastest. That seems to be having no problem on best quality with the same media. I'll just double check that, make sure it did change, because that doesn't seem right. Hold on, let me just scroll down here. It is on best quality. Wow. Okay, so let me come out of LumaFusion there. Now, obviously as well, you know, if we go to say the internet and stuff, I'll just come here to YouTube, and this is just to show you like something happening which is gonna like utilize the Ethernet port. Now, obviously there's a bit here that's already buffered on this video. Let me just go drag it somewhere where it hasn't buffered up to. There we go. So let me just play you this a bit. Okay, so that's just to show you, you know, that we can do certain things like utilize that Ethernet port for hitting the internet and stuff like that. I'm not too sure if there's anything else really to show you on the internet here. It's just basically just to say to you, look, you know, the Ethernet port is being used here. So obviously, if you're in a position, say at home or wherever you've got the iPad, where maybe the wireless connection might be a little bit low, but you've got access to Ethernet, then defo go to Ethernet. And also I'll show you something in a second, well, in a few seconds, where I'm going to play some gameplay for you, and that definitely requires the internet. And also the faster the internet with the lowest latency is the best for that as well. Anyway, so let me come out of there. Okay, now as far as everything else is concerned here, I think you can get a really good idea as to what's going on here and how this would apply to you to use this iPad mini 6 in basically a desktop setup. And as you can see, it is effectively just like a normal desktop computer at this point. Now what I'm going to do, and I always use these videos as an excuse to do it. Wherever put me games, hold on a sec. Okay, my main game folder was actually on the desktop and I couldn't see it. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to run into Call of Duty here, and I'll play about 30 seconds or so of gameplay. Now what I'm going to do is speed through this until I hit straight into somewhere in a game. Now what you're going to have to remember here is what's very impressive about this is probably the graphics. Now I've got this game on absolute full-blown, like, you know, graphic quality here. So this is everything maxed out, and it's still roughly around 60 frames per second. So this will give you an idea of just how good the actual graphic quality is that the iPad mini 6 can generate. So here we go. Let's have a little bit of this then. Okay, so that bit of gameplay there should have shown you just how good the graphics quality is on this new iPad mini 6. I think it is quite outrageous, to be honest, because that game was in absolute full-on quality and it looked amazing. Okay, well look, this video's now got to about the half-hour mark, I would imagine, so it's probably time for me to wrap this up. So what I'm going to do is like revisit some of the stuff that I've used in this video and go into a bit more detail. I mean, as for instance, I didn't test the 4TB drive. However, I think that should be something done in a video on its own. So like, you know, just to explain, yeah, you can just get yourself a 64 gig iPad mini and then, you know, just like lash in a big SSD and stuff and be able to do all, like, you know, your photographic and video type stuff and things like that. And if anybody has got any ideas of stuff that they would like to see, knowing the kind of things that I've got here, let me know in the comments, and I'll most certainly try getting round to doing like videos specifically like that people would want to see stuff done about and things like that. Anyways, there will be links to everything that you've seen in this video in the description below, and there'll be a bunch of links to other Apple stuff and things like that. And if you're into this iPad stuff, the iPad Pro and also the Macs, my channel is starting to do a lot more about these things now. And also, if these M1Xs do come out, and if this is going to be something that happens soon, I'm definitely going to get a Mac Mini M1X if such a thing does come out or does even exist. So yeah, if you're into that type of stuff, you might want to consider subbing and then, like, you know, getting on the bell notification icon for that type of content. So that is definitely me done right now. And if anyone has got this far into the video, I thank you sincerely for watching through the video. Or even if you've just skipped to the end and you're picking bits out the video, thank you for watching it. So on that point, I'm going to dive off now. I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.